It's not just the supply problems and the system problems. You mentioned that all of this is done with technology. And I have to say, the target audience for this right now, those age 65 and up, and, you know, over this past week, I was trying to book reservations for my mother-in-law who's in her 70s and some of her 80-year-old neighbors. I mean, 80-plus-year-old neighbors. It's not easy for them to try and maneuver some of those systems as well, which just makes you wonder what happens to people who don't have kids or grandkids to help them out with this.
They're stuck. They're getting neighbors and they're getting friends, and we've been helping folks out here as well to try and get into the system. It's unfortunate. This is an opportunity where, for example, Salesforce in California is managing that system and distribution, and is helping to connect reservation appointments. And you can see California is way ahead of most any state in administering vaccines to the population. So it's this idea of understanding where you need the supply, how to set up the appointments. And then I think another important factor, Becky, that a lot of people aren't talking about is the supply of people to do it. On a number of sites here in New York, they're asking people, do you have medical capability? Could you sign up to come and help inoculate people?
So what's the fix? Again, Mark, these are all kind of long-term fixes and things that aren't going to be probably able to be papered over with in the next month or two.
I think some of the interesting projects going on here in New York City. So the Armory up in Washington Heights now has 700 vaccine stations, people lining up, going through. I think we need to do more of that. I don't think the pharmacies in and of themselves will be enough. I think you see hospital and physician groups providing vaccines, but it's only for their patients. We need to have mass vaccination. We need to have big facilities.
That's been part of the problem, I think.
Right.
You know, the hospitals that have had access to this, doctors group that have had access to this, have restricted it to only their patients, which creates, you know, its own sort of pecking order for who can get access to these things.
It does. And then these reservation systems, again, they're all different. You try them multiple. I mean, you can sign up for appointments in as many places as you can get online and find one, which tends to jam up the system as well. So there's no coordination. But I think this is something that you can teach National Guardsmen. You can bring in nursing students. Teaching people to give inoculations is not that difficult. And if we do that and set up these mass vaccination centers, we can get the supply into people's arms. Because I think adding double the supply when we don't have the appointment availability, we don't have the technology to be able to get people in to get their shots, really creates a bigger problem in the longer run.
When you start asking people when things are going to start looking much, much better, getting more of this rolled out, Anthony Fauci may say June, July, August. Dr. Scott Gottlieb has told us maybe April. What's your best guess? From the standpoint of availability, I think it's going to be the latter part of the second quarter. But I think from the standpoint of 75% of the American population inoculated, we're looking at 9 months to a year based on these statistics, if things don't change at the level of distribution and providing shots.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.